lot of questions.
Much more than just what you have. And so I carried that mentality into Felt and did as absolutely much as we could do on our own. That means all of our savings went into Felt, hundreds of thousands of dollars, credit card bills. But beyond that, it was also partnerships. It was like, okay, typically, for instance, our two partners are brand executives, and they run one of the premier design firms in the country. And typically, I think a lot of people would think, okay, we should raise money so that we can go hire people like that. But I also know that to build a real business, people need to have ownership. They need to be putting their sweat and tears into it. And you don't do that if you're doing it just as a contractor or as a vendor.
Oh, okay.
You do that only if it's your business.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I made them, full-time partners and Felt over a period of time, but that was always the vision.
So kind of
the
like giving them equity, sweat equity, so to speak, I'm guessing?
Yeah, sweat equity. Yeah, I think that's what I would call it too.
Gotcha. So not only that, but you eventually decided, to start raising capital. We all know you were on ABC's Shark Tank. A lot of people think that's just a game show. What's different from the viewer's side that's totally different on the side when you're on the carpet pitching for investors?
Yeah, I think the notion that it's a game show is not correct. I can say going through the process now, it's legit. The Sharks don't know the company's coming out. Their first experience with you, unless they've heard about you, other ways, but typically their first experience is right then and there. So, that part is real and it's authentic. And I think the other part, the flip side of that is the entrepreneurs going on the show. We especially went on the show when we were ready. Our product was ready. We were out of money. We really needed an investor to give us capital because we had everything else built. The product was ready to go. The team was ready to go. We figured out all the different issues, right, that you figure out along the way. We did all of that on our own dime. And now we were ready to bring on an investor because the investor's risk was dramatically reduced with Felt. Felt wasn't just an idea that had to be built. It was a good idea that had already been built and had already been figured out. We actually rebuilt the product 3 different times.
Wow.
Because we started when there was a very small iPhone in 2015, and then the bigger iPhones came out, and then the iPad Pro came out, and then Apple built a stylus that lets you handwrite, in a very real way.
So it sounds like, and I didn't want to cut you off, but going back to what you just said, it sounds like you spent a lot of time, invested a lot of time in building a system, a business system, so that when you did take it to those sharks, they would take more note of it just because you were not some guy with a piece of paper and a business plan, correct? Yeah, that's right. And also it allowed us to value the company with a lot more affirmations, with a lot more validation and traction, not just an idea that we say is worth X number of dollars. Because when it was just an idea, we didn't know anything. We didn't know if people would even be willing to handwrite something on a screen. So we validated a lot of assumptions that we had been making. And then we could tell our investors, the reason it's valued at X number of millions of dollars is because we've done these 10 things that reduce the risk dramatically. So let me ask you this, and, this is not a normal question, but if you had to value the company confidently without building that networking system before you went on Shark Tank, what do you think you would have had to evaluate at in order to get a shark interested?
So we devalued our company when we went on Shark Tank.
Wow.
When we talked to private investors, it was valued much higher. And, we did that strategically. We wanted to engage the sharks on a positive note. We didn't want to go into Shark Tank and, look greedy. We didn't want to go into Shark Tank from a negotiation standpoint. We wanted to go on there trying to, attract the best investor.
Gotcha.
And we wanted them to know that we're being very upfront. We know they have value beyond just capital. And so we're valuing that differently than we would if we went to just a normal private investor who can't bring, media exposure, partnerships, and other things to the table.
Right.
And so we were just very upfront.
That's the great thing about being on the television exposure, right? You probably got access to tens, if not hundreds of millions of people in a single night. And I agree with you. I think there is a value to that. So I appreciate you really kind of going that angle because I don't know. I talk to people and they still think you just show up, you put some things on a table and the sharks want to give you money.
Yeah, I think it's part of our culture at Felt is just to be very upfront, very transparent, very real and honest. And so I think we did a really good job of not losing that. when we went kind of on to the primetime big stage finally.
Cool. Well, I got to tell you, I do think I'll be going on to Felt a little later today, Tomer. And I think I'll be sending out some postcards myself. I like the idea of being able to take the picture and put my fingerprints on it and not actually have to find a stamp, find an envelope, and trek over to the post office. Do your customers tell you similar things?
Yeah, that's the number one reason people use Felt, is because it's the perfect marriage of modern day technology with this tradition. And it's still made to keep the authenticity intact, right? It's still your handwriting. You created it. The only thing that's different is that you never touched the piece of paper. You just used your phone or your iPad in front of you. And I think that, some people still want to go out to the store and get a card and lick the envelope and do something like that. And that's totally fine. That's totally cool. I think we hear like 50-50. Like half the people who see Felt love it. They think that it's awesome. They think that it maintains enough authenticity to send their mom a Mother's Day card using it. And then the other half of the people are like, no way, Jose. Like, if, my mom would shoot me if I didn't go to the store. And I think it's interesting that, our perspective as users is that I wouldn't send cards before Felt. And so now that I am sending cards, they are in my handwriting. My mom loves it, period, because before she wasn't getting them in this at all anyway.
And it's mom, right? Because mom is going to appreciate it no matter what it is, right? So...
Yeah, I mean, I use Felt. Obviously, I'm a little different, but I use Felt for, business interactions. I use Felt for sincere, heartfelt expressions, because I just think I've been around this for a long time, and I've thought about this long and hard, and I've decided to put my own money into it, namely because when I handwrite it, no matter if I use my finger on my iPhone or if I use the Apple Pencil on my iPad or pen and paper, the fact that I actually handwrite my message, I have basically... It's yours.
It's your thoughts. It's your idea. It's your spirit, right?
Yeah. And it's different than typing your message. It really is. And so I've, kind of resolved in myself that this is where the value lies.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter if you touch the paper or not. What really matters is that you crafted your message in a way that you don't typically do, right? You don't typically handwrite stuff. You don't typically send handwritten notes. So the fact that you did it is what is special. It doesn't matter if you actually went to the store, touched the stamps, that you think you can do.
Connect. All new Radio for Business.
It's the podcast for business.
After that, I'm not doing people's lunch dishes.
Highlighting the best emerging talent.
Oh my God, all these people that have gotten the product and wrote up on it. That's amazing.
The podcast for business, live every weekday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
If I think positive about the results, only positive results are going to come to me.
You never know what you'll hear.
If we didn't have that foundation, I don't think I would have had the balls. Well, I don't have balls, but...
Hey, you can say it. We're on the internet. It's okay.
Okay. I wouldn't have had the guts to do that.
Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast for business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Prophet. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast for business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
Inside the mind of the owner. Radio for small business. Connect. Capitalize. Go.
It's Eugene Rowe with the Radio for Small Business. Visit HomeBiz.
Capitalize. Go.
National television. Why don't you talk about that, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Yeah, no, so we, my sister and I, we, found a new therapy in America, and we dove right into it in our hometown, tiny Carmel, California. only has a population of 4,000, but we really saw a quick success. And we applied to Shark Tank, I think, when we were 7 months in business. And fortunately for us, we beat out 70,000 other entrepreneurs to appear on season 7, episode 20.
Wow.
And have just kind of taken off ever since. And it's been quite the journey for us so far.
So, Skylar, you already said 3 things I've got to ask about. First of all, you work with your sister. You know, a lot of people have sibling rivalries and things like that. How do you all get along, and how do you make the business run?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, we're 6 years apart, and when we grew up, we hated each other. So that's a great question to ask. I think the thing is we're actually the perfect team. You know, I'm kind of the big dreamer who, you know, I think I could open 1,000 locations in a year. And she's more reserved and more the container. And, you know, she makes sure that we're organized and balanced and we don't rush into anything. So we kind of balance each other out, and we have different strengths. You know, I'm really the science guy, and, you know, she's very good with paperwork and being organized and marketing.
Gotcha.
So we kind of have our different areas that we focus on. If you want to have a good entrepreneur team, you need to have both types of people. Someone who is a big dreamer who really, you know, is very optimistic, and then you need to have someone who's more reserved, because the combination will really balance you out in the long term.
Right. And I've got to applaud you, because I've done business with family before, and it was weird because I ended up having to fire them. And they weren't as motivated as you two were. I mean, where's the drive come from with your business, Glacé Cryotherapy?
Yeah, there is so much motivation between us both. When we started it, we were both kind of in a low spot. You know, I had just been dumped by my college sweetheart. She broke my heart. And,
oh, man.
You know, I was very motivated to, you know, go out there and conquer the world and succeed. And my sister, you know, had just gone through with a job where she had a horrible experience for 3 years. You know, she'd come home crying from her job. And so didn't really know what she was going to do with her life. And we kind of came together and found this cryotherapy and said, hey, this therapy is amazing. Can we make it work? So we said, yes, we can. We'll do it in Carmel, and, you know, make this thing, which bring cryotherapy to America. So when we started, we were definitely at a low point. But, you know, we both had the motivation to say we want to have better lives. We want to, you know, to feel something inside of each other and, you know, make this happen.
Wow.
That's really where the motivation comes from.
So even though two big personal, I guess, low points, like you said, you know, you came out with a great idea, obviously, and then you're in business for 7 months and you beat out 70,000 applicants for Shark Tank. What do you think set you all apart from the other 69,993 applicants?
Well, yeah, first of all, I think we're lucky that we have such an interesting, you know, therapy that we work with. I mean, first of all, you know, when people say, oh, man, you freeze people for 3 minutes, it really catches people's attention. So first of all, cryotherapy is just different. You know, it's a brand new industry here in America. So I don't think they'd ever had seen any audition tapes or anybody going there and auditioning for cryotherapy. We're probably the first. And then also the fact that we're brother, sister, and people go, how do you work with your sister? How do you work with your brother? And, you know, we're both very, very passionate. And they could see that in our audition video, how passionate we were. And I think we really knocked it out of the park with our audition video. It's probably the hardest stage you got to get past when you're playing the Shark Tank. And, you know, we made a good 10-minute video. I kind of popped out of the cryosauna like a Jack in the Box. And they told us that the producers just loved the video. And I think that's really what set us apart.
So not only are you working with your sister, not only have you been in business 7 months and all of a sudden you get on Shark Tank, but you're also millennials. And, you know, a lot of people say millennials are unmotivated, they're lazy. What do you say to that, knowing that you have a crazily growing business right now?
Yeah, I think, you know, millennials are very misunderstood. You know, most of my friends, they all want to own their own businesses and do their own things. And I think a lot of millennials are striving, you know, to get to the point where they can, you know, try to do something on their own. You know, because I do think there's that misconception that we're lazy and we don't care. I can tell you right now that millennials are actually very, very passionate. You know, I just know from my friends that they really do. We all kind of want to do our own thing and, you know, have a huge impact.
Wow.
So I do like the fact that we're millennials and, you know, we've seen quick success. Hasn't been without, you know, the occasional valleys, which, you know, every entrepreneur will encounter.
Right.
But there's been a lot of peaks, which have been fantastic for us so far.
So great. Awesome. So now a lot of people think just because you go on Shark Tank, you're a contestant on a TV show. Okay. But you're actually pitching a business opportunity, an investment opportunity. Had you guys pitched investors prior to even applying for Shark Tank?
No, honestly, not like that. I mean, we have met with so many potential partners and, you know, individuals that are interested in cryotherapy, and a few before Shark Tank, but it was never in the capacity that we're really pitching our business for someone to give us a big chunk of money and invest in it. So that was really, our Glossy Cryotherapy is our first business. And I didn't really take any business courses in college, and neither did my sister. So we've been kind of learning as we go. But there's no better way to learn than, learning by doing.
Yeah. So, on a national television stage, I'd say you're doing a pretty good job of learning. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the decision, because you are pitching a part of your equity when you go onto the show. What was the thought process you all had when you said, okay, we'll part with, X amount of the company? What was going through your mind? I guess what was balancing you out to say, we want to do it, but we want to do it right?
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions you have to make. And, we knew we wanted to keep full ownership on our side, but we were willing to give up a lot of equity. I mean, my sister and I, we're not greedy. I mean, of course we want financial security so we can, support ourselves and our family and our friends. But more so than anything, we want to see cryotherapy succeed. And we wanted to find the right partner that we thought, hey, they can, actually make cryotherapy, help us scale this in America. So we were definitely willing to, I think, part with at least 40% equity. And that was probably our final limit was 40% when we were going into Shark Tank.
Wow. So with that, I heard you mention scale. I think I visited your LinkedIn page and I saw the word franchise there. How are you guys scaling since being on the show, or what are the plans for scaling in the next couple of years?
Well, yeah, I mean, therapy spas in the whole country. I'm pretty sure 15 of them were in Texas. So it was brand new. And we were kind of, inventing the game as, we were going along, making the rules and everything. And we just said, this therapy works so well that it really should be in every single city. And after a year, there's not 20 anymore. There's around 250 locations. So Wow. It's growing as I expected it to. We wanted, for franchise, you got to give people a reason to franchise with you. So, there's a huge learning curve to cryotherapy. There's ways to market it, ways to give the therapy correctly and effectively and give that good experience. And we feel like we've mastered that. And since Shark Tank, we've received probably over 1,000 franchise requests.
Wow.
But, your first 20 or so franchises are so important for setting up your future. They have to be very selective on who you choose and what locations you go into. But probably the most important thing that's happened is the vice president of a huge fitness club chain watched our Shark Tank episode, called me 2 days after the show and said, hey, how would you like to put Glossy Cryotherapy inside of our fitness club? I said, absolutely. I love it.
Wow.
And, right? I have all these franchise requests. And what's going to happen is we're about to finalize a deal this week, actually. They have over 600 locations in the country. And we can either put our own corporate locations or we can sell our franchise and have people buy into Glossy and open in these fitness clubs. So I think we're going to do probably both. But now we have something a little bit more proprietary to us because we don't make the equipment that we use. But if you want to go into this fitness club, you have to have Glossy over
Wow.
your name.
Wow.
So it's definitely something that's going to help our brand in the future.
Did I just hear you say basically that your brand tripled or quadrupled in locations and is going to do that in one deal?
Well, I think it gives us the possibility for it. It's just a huge opportunity. I mean, we're going to do our best to execute and scale it into all 600 locations, but that's going to take some time and, have to be done right. But we have a bunch of franchise requests, and once I'm able to, present this to the franchise requests we've already received, I think a lot of investors are going to jump all over it because it's a huge opportunity to own your own business, get into a new therapy that's really taking off, and it's going to be a great model inside of this fitness club.
Well, I tell you, it really sounds like you guys are having some rocketing success. Definitely you and your sister. What's your sister's name?
My sister's name is Brittany.
Okay, we want to give Brittany some credit too, right? Because she, like you said, she keeps you grounded, right?
A lot of it. We wouldn't be where we are without her. I mean, if I didn't have her, I probably would have blown this thing all up because I'm so aggressive. But she really, she's amazing at marketing. There's no one better at marketing. And, as far as being organized, there was so much paperwork and phone calls and emails. And she is absolutely amazing at keeping us organized and on track. So without her, there'd be no Glossy.
Awesome.
That's without a doubt.
Awesome. Well, just in case you're just tuning in, we've been talking to Skylar Scarlett with Glossy Cryotherapy. Skylar, why don't you tell the listeners how to find out more about Glossy Cryotherapy?
Please visit us on our website, www.glossycryotherapy.com. It has a bunch of great information for individuals to check out, and also it has a great webpage on it that will discuss the franchising possibilities with us. And then also, if you're in Carmel, California, my sister and I, we still operate on-site at our Carmel location. If you want to meet us in person, you can definitely come in, and I'm always happy to discuss Shark Tank and entrepreneurial advice to anybody that walks in. while I'm here, which I don't know how much longer that will be, but while I'm here, I'm definitely open to it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Skylar Scarlett. Hey, if you're in Carmel, California, stop by and say hello. Class A Cryotherapy, thanks for taking your time out on Radio for Small Business.
Yeah, thanks, Eugene.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast For Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business. Connect, capitalize, go.
So here's what you should know. Nate Barbera and Desiree Stoller's business all started when someone accidentally put a favorite tan wool sweater in the dryer. You should know Desiree Stoller, owner of Unshrink It, is on Radio for Small Business right now. Desiree, thanks for taking your time out.
Oh, you're welcome.
So you got to tell me, how old were you when you got the idea for Unshrink It, or the epiphany that sweaters don't go in the dryer?
Sadly, I was 28 when I realized that wool sweaters probably don't belong in the dryer ever.
So you got to tell the experience. Was it an emergency, or did you just say, let's see if it works?
Oh, it was negligence. When you're in graduate school, you're doing a million things at once. You're studying, you're on the phone, you're trying to do too much at once. And I literally just put all my clothes together in the same pile and thought they would all come out nice and beautiful and clean. And to my surprise, the wool sweaters came out a couple sizes too small.
Oh, boy.
Which is a little disconcerting, considering that when you're in grad school, you don't have money to replace wool sweaters. So I immediately started thinking, how can I rectify this? Because the last thing I want to do is have to either not have a sweater, it's frost and it's cold, or try to buy a new one. So I looked for home remedies and thought one worked really well. And I, quote, unshrunk, end quote, sweater that I wore to class at Harvard Business School. And over the course of the day, it continued to shrink to the point where it was a crop top.
So you're a grad student, you're doing 50 things at one time, and you throw your sweater in with all the other clothes into the dryer. What happened next?
I said to myself, this can't stand. I need these sweaters back. I don't have the money to replace them. And I was shopping. I need to be studying. So I tried to find home remedies that would fix it. And I found one that I thought worked really well. And that was basically water and conditioner. And I fixed my sweater, went to class, and then proceeded to watch my sweater shrink back to a crop top in the middle of class at Harvard Business School, which is not appropriate. So I requested a jacket from a friend and then went home frustrated, but more importantly, determined to actually fix shrinkage in the laundry room.
And that's what the idea for your business came from. So it's your business is Unshrink It. Talk about the process where you say, okay, I'm going to become a mad scientist, or what happened?
Well, the process is that Harvard Business School had just launched a program where they would give students $5,000 to start a micro business. And I convinced my 5 other classmates that this would be a brilliant idea. Why not? We have the money and time to tinker around for a few months and try to crack the nut on shrunken wool clothing. And thankfully, they agreed with me that it'd be more fun to do than a mobile app or a website. And so we started doing some research on what makes wool shrink. And Nate had a background at Johnson & Johnson during product development and was really comfortable looking at old wool textbooks and researching the science behind things. And he proceeded to make a bunch of suggestions for things that could work. And as a team, we tested them out over a few months.
So eventually you get a product and a business that's successful enough for you all to think about raising capital. Can you talk about that process where you decided to say, hey, we're going to bring on some new investors?
Well, in many ways, the process was the decision to raise capital did not come for a while. So the $5,000 that Harvard gave us basically lasted us through all the initial R&D as well as the legal protections to file a patent. And it got us through the summer and incorporating the business. It was only in the fall where we realized that the product actually had demand beyond our family members and friends, that we first did an internal round of fundraising amongst the founders, because if you're not willing to put a little bit of skin in the game as a co-founder, then, what are you doing? And that got us actually to the first sweater season, so September through May. We used our own funds to do that. It was only once we started to get interest from retailers and from international distributors that we said to ourselves, perhaps we should look for external funding. Now, remind the fact that once we graduate from graduate school, we're going to have loans and bills and families to provide for, and we should probably try to cover a salary. So that was the catalyst to looking for capital, and we looked at it in all the most traditional places with angel investors, with accelerators, with families and friends, and with a couple of VC firms in the DC and Boston area.
So I like the way that you were getting interest from retailers and wholesalers and things like that, because that probably made your pitch a lot more appealing. How did, I guess, your experience with pitching venture capital firms and angel investors, how'd that help you when you got onto ABC's Shark Tank?
Tremendously. By the time we went on Shark Tank, we had already done close to 50 pitches in front of VCs, angels, professors, friends who were going into private equity and venture capital. And more importantly, we had basically finished up our entire degree. So I literally had a diploma on the wall by the time I was filming at Shark Tank. So you felt as though you had the academic credentials behind you, but also a great deal of practice. Now, Shark Tank is a completely different animal, literally. The pressure of being on national television, the pressure of being in front of billionaires and multimillionaires, the pressure of knowing that you have anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours to make an impression about your product or your service, and they're going to judge you either very harshly or at least very critically about what you're doing.
So you mean you went on the carpet for only that 12 minutes that they showed on the TV show?
Oh, no. Nate and I were on that carpet for about 2 hours. So,
do you at least get a bathroom break or something? I don't know.
No. The thought is that they don't want you to be able to go and look at notes or to confer with one another. It's really supposed to be you in the pressure cooker. What do you do in a moment of intensity to really sell your product and to sell yourself?
So you've made the pitch. You've made 50 pitches before you got to Shark Tank. You're standing on the carpet for 2 hours. Can you talk to us about not necessarily, what was going through what was going through your mind? What's the mentality and mindset that you had to have in order to really repel all the different things that they would ask about your business and make sure you knew your numbers? What's the mentality you had to prepare for?
It's a great question. I will tell you that the best thing, that the mentality that served me best was, frankly, being exceptionally confident that I had a product that truly was worthwhile, that I myself was a person of integrity, and that our business, although not perfect to everyone, had a lot of strong qualities to it. So it's a sense of confidence flying in. And I will tell you, the first 5 minutes, you feel buffeted left and right. They're asking you question after question. They're overlapping. There's a sense of impatience because their time is valuable and they want to find out as much as possible about you and the product as quickly as possible. And I recall thinking, I'm going to flounder here if I don't get my bearings, because I can't answer every question, and I certainly can't answer overlapping questions. And so I told this to many people beforehand, and I'll just repeat it here, that I literally just stopped for a moment and thought to myself, well, if Mark, Kevin, and Damon ask a question at the same time, then why don't I listen for the questions, like truly breathe and listen, and pick the question that I feel most prepared to knock out the ballpark. Instead of trying to parse out who deserves to be answered first, answer the one I want. So there was a moment in which that literally happened where 3 or 4 people asked the same question, and I happened to hear Kevin's question come out in a way that I thought we had prepared it well and it was going to make us look great. So I answered it, and he loved my answer. And to my surprise, so there's a momentary freak out session where you're thinking they're Damon and Mark, and I say, hey, you didn't answer my question. Instead, because my answer was so good to Kevin, they dropped their initial question and asked a follow-up to that one. So it created this wonderful domino effect where basically every question flowed from answers that I really had thought through how I wanted to answer it, and I thought we were going to represent us very well. And so it just continuously made us look better.
So you took control.
Even
though you weren't asking the questions, you took control in your mind and you said, hey, this is what we want to say about our business. And here it is. Here's the answer that I want to give you.
Exactly.
Okay. That's probably a good tip for anybody anywhere that's pitching, right?
I mean, well, it's great advice. It's hard to take. And I want to say, had Nate and I not practiced 15, 20 hours a week for almost 2 months on those questions, pausing and playing different Shark Tank segments and making ourselves answer questions as if we were the founders ourselves, of creating fake VC sessions where people grilled us for hours on end and we had to answer the questions. And if we didn't have that foundation of practice, I don't think I would have had the balls. Well, I don't have balls, but
hey, you can say it. We're on the internet. It's okay.
Okay. I wouldn't have had the guts to do that. But because I knew if I did try to take control in it, I took control over things that I thought we were really well prepared to do, to highlight ourselves. That was why I was comfortable doing it. If you're not prepared, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know your business, if you're trying to be a fake person, I can't tell you how many people, said that they were going to try to be a persona on Shark Tank. And Nate and I said no. Under pressure, particularly under pressure for an hour or 2 hours, you eventually revert to yourself. You might as well practice being yourself.
Desiree, I've got to tell you, you are a very wise woman, okay? You've probably dropped 5 or 6 golden nuggets in this few minutes that we've been talking. And just in case you're just tuning in, we're talking to Desiree Stoller, co-founder of Unshrink It. You've seen him on Shark Tank. You've seen him in other national television shows. Desiree, why don't you tell the listeners how to get a hold of you?
You can reach me at hi@unshrinkit.com, or you can go straight to our website, unshrinkit.com, and fill out the information on the contact page.
Awesome. Desiree Stoller, co-founder of Unshrink It. Thanks for taking your time out on Radio for Small Business.
You're welcome.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast for business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business. Put your mouth where your money is. Radio for Small Business with HomeBiz.
It's Radio for Small Business, HomeBiz.com. Your host, Eugene Rowe. My next guest has luggage that folds. I'm about to get on a plane literally right now, and we need to talk to Mr. Stephen Hirsch of Biagi. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit of luggage that folds? Okay, that's something interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and your products?
Yeah, so Biagi makes innovative travel products, not only luggage that folds, but other products that make travelers' lives simpler. But our core product, like you mentioned, is foldable luggage because, as you know, luggage takes up a lot of space in your home, and this is an issue that nobody really has dealt with before we came along. So basically, we make durable, lightweight luggage that you could fold up and store easily in a drawer, on a shelf, under a bed, things like that.
And that makes sense. I literally have a whole corner full of luggage, and you can't fold it, you can't throw it under anything, and I've got a whole corner of one of my offices full with just empty luggage sacks. So that's a great idea. So,
thank you.
What part of the world are you in, by the way?
Tell us a little bit
against that purchase order.
So, and that's interesting. Most people think you get an order from, say, for instance, a Target or a QVC or somebody, and they automatically send the money. But it could be quite a while before, purchasers actually send you the cash, right?
Yeah, it could be 60 days or even as much as 90 days.
So when it comes to, I know you said you guys don't borrow necessarily. That's not your business model. There are probably a million people that would call you crazy. Tell us about the mindset or the thought process behind not borrowing against your company's assets.
Every business is different, and I wouldn't knock somebody for borrowing money. Most companies do it. I've done it with previous business as well, but ultimately we changed our business model and we operate, a very, very, very lean. We reinvest everything that we make, we reinvest into inventory, and ultimately it catches up, in a positive way. I mean, that's just the way we like to do it. Again, there's so many different business models that you could use.
And you're able to sleep better at night, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
We're talking to Stephen Hirsch, owner of Biagi, on Radio for Small Business. Check it out on homeofbiz.com. Connect, capitalize, go. Stephen, we've already talked about the mindset of raising capital. We've even talked about what factors are when getting orders and things like that. Let's go back into, the raising capital, more of the mindset when you ended up on ABC's Shark Tank. What's going through your head, and what are you trying to get across to the Sharks in order to cash that check?
My strategy with getting on the show, for getting on the show, not just for getting on the show, for having success on the show and trying to score a deal with one of the Sharks, was basically to get a strategic partner. So I mentioned that we don't like to borrow money. The best alternative to that is to have a partner who not only can help you with the money, but can also add more to the business. Instead of just borrowing somebody, it could be somebody that helps you grow, like a bank will lend you money, and then and obviously that helps you for sure if you're going down that route 100%. Every business needs capital in order to operate, but, the next level is to really, I work with Lori Grenier, so not only does she invest in the company, but she also bought me some of my largest customers.
Wow.
No bank's going to do that for you.
And a lot of people don't think about that, right? So not only did she get a piece of the company, but it's like you said, now she's motivated to go get more business for you. I know she's got the QVC stuff. She's got the Bed Bath & Beyond stuff. Can you talk more about the value of being able to have that value-add partner when it comes to bringing customers in the door? I mean, first of all, in my case, I happen to have a celebrity partner. That helps me whenever I meet with retailers or other customers that I'm trying to sell to. Obviously, I could name drop, I guess, and that definitely helps because it gives credibility to what I do, that somebody like that is, interested enough in my business to invest and to be on board and help me sell, So the strategic partner doesn't have to be that, though. It doesn't have to be, a shark from Shark Tank. I mean, not that many people are get that opportunity. It could be anybody. It could be fulfillment, somebody who does your fulfillment or helps you with fulfillment. It could be different kind of a partner who can help you grow your business in some way, shape, or form. And everybody's got to bring something to the table. That makes sense. We're talking to Stephen Hirsch with Biagi right here on Radio for Small Business at homeofbiz.com. He's already talked to us about raising capital, being on the Shark Tank, even borrowing, not having a business plan of borrowing, and then being able to factor as well. Stephen, with you guys' line of products, where are you seeing that the most people are liking it or loving it? What kind of feedback are you getting? We get great feedback. I mean, I have a very niche product. Luggage is a very broad category. It's not, people don't travel necessarily that often, and there's so many different kinds of products in the category, and we sell a very specialized product. So our customers are very loyal customers. These are people who really do, feel that we solve a problem for them, and we get a lot of repeat business, which is obviously the ultimate feedback and the positive feedback that you could get. They're definitely loving it then. Stephen Hirsch, owner of Biagi. Biagi.com. How do you spell that? Biaggi.com. Okay, Biaggi.com. Stephen Hirsch, thanks for taking your time out here at homeofbiz.com. Thank you.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the Podcast for Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business.
It's Radio for Small Business. Your host, Eugene Rowe. Visit us on homebubiz.com. My next guest used the things that he puts in his products to protect America downrange, and now he's helping us, well, anybody that needs to breach a bottle. Eli Crane, owner of Bottle Breacher. Welcome to Radio for Small Business.
Thanks for having me. Great to be on.
Now, tell us a little bit about your background, because I use words like downrange and defend us, so you got to tell everybody what you're all about.
I joined the Navy the week after 9/11 and spent 13 years in the Navy, the last 9 years in the Navy as a SEAL. I don't have a fancy business degree or anything like that, and, fortunately, I learned enough in the military that has really applied to business to where we've been able to be successful. So I consider myself really fortunate for that.
So obviously, we see all the documentaries, we see the movies about U.S. Navy SEALs and things like that. What percentage or how much of that training actually, bred you to make sure you were going to be successful in business as well?
A ton of it did. I mean, the first things first is they teach you accountability there. A lot of us think that we're grown up and mature, and then you get into a pressure cooker like SEAL training, and you realize that, I'm really not as mature as I thought I was. They teach you right off the bat that excuses don't mean anything. We don't want to hear your excuses. We don't care why you're late. We don't care why you didn't make your time. And, that really translates over into business, because you can have all the excuses in the world for why your product, business, or your service isn't doing good. But at the end of the day, if you're not making money, then, you're going to be out of business really soon. That was definitely valuable. The whole leadership thing was very valuable. Lead at every level. As special operators, we go into some of the most violent cities in the world, sometimes with, 4 guys, sometimes 10 guys. And when you're doing that, you have to know that your leadership might get taken out, injured, or killed. And so you have to know how to lead, step up, and, take care of business. And that's been hugely important in Bottle. There's a bunch of other things, and we could talk for hours on it, but those are just a few of the things that I've taken from the SEAL teams and applied to business.
Well, first of all, we've been talking to Eli Crane, owner of Bottle Breacher. Eli, thanks for your service as a member of the U.S. Navy and the Navy SEAL, so we definitely thank you for that. Of course, here to talk to you today about your business, Bottle Breacher. Now, Bottle Breacher, that itself sounds exciting. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So I started this business out of my one-car garage in San Diego. I was honestly just trying to make something cool. When I realized I was onto something, and then my buddies loved it, we were taking 50 caliber dummy ammunition and turning them into bottle openers. We did not come up with this idea. We just made this idea way better, and we, applied a solid branding to it. Breacher, I wanted the brand to be something that stood out and something that, people could get behind. And, a breacher in the SEAL teams is an operator whose job is to get us into whatever target we're hitting, whether he does it explosively or mechanically. And so, I knew you had to get into that bottle of suds somehow, so why not breach it? So Bottle Breacher got a nice ring to it, and, we've found that people, have really gotten behind our Made in the USA, better known brand.
That's right. Now, most of the product is actually made by U.S. veterans and U.S. citizens, right?
Yeah, so we have, it's just to be completely upfront, we're not, our business isn't completely operated by veterans. We hire as many as we can.
Gotcha.
Right now we have 7 working for us. And so, we're pretty proud of that fact. And all of our products are made right here in the USA, and we're extremely proud of that.
That's pretty awesome. In fact, I know that went over well when you were on ABC's Shark Tank, right? And you were on there pitching capital. A lot of people think that show is just about a game show, but in essence, you were raising capital for your business. Can you talk about the mentality, the thought process that took you up to deciding to do that show?
Well, anybody that would sit there and watch a Shark Tank and think that it's just a reality TV show, first of all, I'll say this. We were projecting $800,000 in sales in 2014 before the Shark Tank. After the Shark Tank, we did over $5 million. So if people don't think that it's a real show and that it adds real value, then you're sadly mistaken. First of all, secondly, it's been I didn't really go on the Shark Tank seeking money, even though money is great. It can infuse your business. What I really wanted was I wanted tactical partners that could get me in the doors that would take me 4 to 5 years to get into myself, and guys that could help guide and mentor us along the way. And that's what I was really seeking. Along with it, you get, obviously, we got $150,000, 75 from Mark Cuban, 75 from Kevin O'Leary. But the other thing that you get is the exposure of the Shark Tanks. And, that show is rerun constantly in the United States, all over the world. And every time it gets rerun, we see a spike in sales. So it's been amazing.
That's pretty awesome. We've been talking, we're still talking to Eli Crane of Bottle Breacher, and I know we're talking about your experience on the Shark Tank. Millions of dollars of sales immediately after the show. So not only did you raise capital, but there's how many millions of dollars in just marketing that you get for your business, whether you get a deal or not.
I don't know what the actual number is. I've heard that type of exposure would cost you millions of dollars. So one of the sayings that I went into the Shark Tank, and one of my mantras is that 70% of something is worth more than 100% of nothing.
Okay.
I would have given up 30% of my business, for what I got. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners make, is that they don't realize the value of taking on tactical partner who also can infuse income and capital into your business. They want to keep control over everything, and they want to be 100% owner, and that's great and it's fine. But a lot of the times they're never able to take their business to the next level because of it, and that's why I say they own 100% of nothing.
And that's a good thing to say. I remember hearing even Kevin O'Leary say that, he had a problem with his original company that he sold to Mattel, and he brought in another guy to solve that problem, and he gave that guy equity. And as a result, $4 billion later, they were a multi-billion-dollar sale or something like that. So
absolutely.
I definitely agree with that. So let's kind of switch gears just a little bit and preparing to get onto the show, not necessarily applying, but what else is going through your head as far as preparing? Questions they might ask, things they may want to know, things that you need to still learn about your own business. What was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind is that we were only going to get one shot at this, and I've had a lot of failures in my life. Most of them were because I didn't properly prepare. Most of it was because I took kind of a lackadaisical, I'm going to do this kind of half-assed mentality, and I knew that wasn't going to work on the Shark Tank. So, we knew, nothing's worse than watching the Shark Tank and watching entrepreneurs fumble through their pitch and then not being able to answer questions. So I definitely sought out as many advisors, it had solid reputations that had been there, done that, and had been successful in multiple businesses. And I just had them put me through the pressure cooker. I would bring these guys in and I would have them grill me and Jen, for hours at a time, asking us any and every question that they could think of. And then we would do it again. Wow. And, that was so important to our success on Shark Tank because, you see about probably 8 or 9 minutes of it on television, but what you don't realize is that me and Jen were in the tank for an hour and 20 minutes getting grilled. So, so you better know your stuff. You better be ready. And that doesn't mean you have to know the answer to every question. These guys understand it. Hell, I was in the Navy at the time. They know that I wasn't some seasoned entrepreneur with, 5 successful businesses and 20 years under my belt. But they knew that we knew what we were talking about. They knew that our sales were solid, and they knew that we weren't going to run from adversity. And I think that's so important because when you do a deal, when you make an investment, only half of that investment should be on the product or the service or the business itself. The other half of that investment and deal should be based on the warm and fuzzy you get on the people behind it. And that's what I wanted the Sharks to understand, that Jen and I had faced a lot of adversity. And when we faced it, we didn't run for the hills. We fought strong, and we had to. After the Shark Tank, we had a 3-month back order. We had, for sure a customer service problem because, we did $1 million in sales in the first week. So you don't go from manufacturing your own product and making 130 units on a good day to having to make 1,500 to 2,000 on the next day and not have any issues. That just doesn't happen.
Wow.
And so, we were, thankfully as a company, we were able to get through that. We rallied around one another. We thought outside the box. We brought in new innovation, and, we solved the problem. And because of it, we're still in business today.
Well said. Eli Crane, owner of the Bottle Breacher. Where can listeners pick it up?
Go to bottlebreacher.com. All of our products are right there. They're all made in the USA. We support a lot of veteran nonprofits. I couldn't be any happier to do what I do on a daily basis. Thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you. We appreciate your service. Eli Crane, owner of Bottle Breacher. Thanks for taking your time out on homebubiz.com.
Thank you.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast For Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business.
It's Radio for Small Business. Your host, Eugene Rowe. Check us out on homebubiz.com. Connect, capitalize, and go. And if you're planning on going on an adventure, you'll want to listen to this next guest, Andy Cochran, owner of Oru Kayak. Welcome to Radio for Small Business.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Andy, now, I'll tell you, I've been on water in water sports. Maybe once I was in a canoe. I know you guys do kayaks. You got to tell me, which one's easier, the canoe or the kayak?
Really depends what you're doing, man. Canoes are good for one thing, and kayaks are good for another.
Well, we were beginners, so...
Typically, used for carrying more gear over longer distances. You can throw in multiple packs or a couple kids, a dog. Kayaks are generally quicker. They turn faster, better for rivers, and really a lot better for oceans or surf. Depends what you're doing.
Beginners, I've heard we should have definitely started with the kayak. I wish I had known about your business before then, because it wasn't long before we were in the water. We maybe were in the actual canoe for 5 minutes, but we were in the water for a little bit longer than that before we could climb out. So I definitely tell you, how'd you get the motivation or the inspiration to really start your business?
The inspiration from the business, not mine. So I lead marketing here. Our lead designer founded the business a number of years ago. We're talking 8 or 9 years ago. And he is an architect by trade, and he was doing architecture with a material called Coroplast, which is basically a plastic cardboard. So he's pretty familiar with this type of material. He's also a pretty avid kayaker, and he moved from northern California down to San Francisco, down to the Bay Area. And in that move, he moved into a small apartment and couldn't keep his kayak. So he threw it in storage, and, this is kind of something he didn't like. He, would rather be out paddling every once in a while.
Right.
He read an article in the New Yorker about origami and had one of those kind of cliche aha moments where he, started believing he could make a kayak out of this plastic that he used a lot, using origami folding technique.
So the actual kayak actually folds and stores a lot better than anything else that's out there right now.
Yeah, it's totally different. We don't have a competitor on the market. Our boat folds to one sheet of plastic. There's 3 different models. you can get them in either 12 or 16 feet long, and it folds down into a case that you can check on a plane, you can carry on your back, fit in the trunk of your car. So it folds down pretty small, something that makes it a lot more portable.
Awesome. We're talking to Andy Cochran with Oru Kayak. Now, Andy, I know eventually it was time to maybe raise some capital and build some funds. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the company maybe brought on some investors, or at least pitched a few investors?
So we have raised funds actually in a number of ways now. So we have dabbled in crowdfunding. We launched initially 2012 in the fall with a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay.
That was roughly 3, give or take, years of development before that. So there's substantial resources, both human and financial, that go in before that of developing this boat. Probably 25 prototypes worth of testing and refining and iterating. We launched on Kickstarter in 2012. At that time, we were the largest outdoor Kickstarter ever, roughly $250,000. Used that money to set up a factory, to bring on a dev team, to build out a website, to hire pay the 3 founders, at least enough to get by while the company started. It's just an accelerator. Like, the smartest thing you can say to an investor and make sure it's true is that you're going to get there regardless of their support or not. It's just their money is going to get you there faster.
Mm-hmm.
So if you reframe it like that as an accelerator, any of those things would have happened, or still in the future will happen for Oru. We just take on that money, make it happen, earn money from it, and pay it back.
Gotcha.
Is a better way to think about it.
Gotcha. Andy Cochran of Oru Kayak is on Radio for Small Business right now. homeofbiz.com. Connect, capitalize, go. Andy, you mentioned raising funds from friends and family, and by now you've got a little bit of experience. What are some tips that you can give other entrepreneurs who may be thinking about asking Uncle Ted for a few $1,000s?
It's a great question. So, like I mentioned to you a bit ago, we've done it through crowdfunding and through angels. And we've also appeared on Shark Tank.
That's right. Yes.
So we've danced that dance too. The advice I'd give for even asking is to really do your homework and see if you need to ask for it. People are really intrigued by raising money, and here in the Bay we see it a lot. And one of kind of the most salient, the most important piece of advice I've gotten in my career is do not take investment if you don't need it. I think that essentially it's giving up control of your company, and not in a selfish, you need everything type of way, but
right.
Just in having autonomy to make business decisions rapidly without a large board, without investors can dictate. Some of that is really helpful, and that's a piece of advice I got and heeded, and it's been important for me and us is to. So, when we didn't need it, don't take it.
So, Andy, most entrepreneurs, they'll say, of course I need money right now. We want a widget or something like that. How do you talk them down off the ledge to help them be real with themselves about whether or not they need to go raise capital?
Well, I would explain to them that if their product isn't profitable by itself, then taking money now is only going to put them in a larger problem of how do they work themselves out of that? So it's only going to make you struggle more. You'll be paying that back and trying to stay in the black at the same time. Which kind of complicates or almost doubles that problem. So we see most of people around us. It's almost the fastest way to sink yourself is to take on a large investment that you can't pay back. And it seems so intriguing because it's cash up front and you can make moves right now, and you're the new cool kid on the block that raised, such and such amount.
But eventually you got to pay the piper, right?
Right. So, my methodology is to do small prototyping all the time. So if people are, have really validated their product, that they can execute it, that the market really demands it, and they've done, sufficient testing in that sense through real pilots, getting it in people's hands, selling it in, small exclusive runs, and they know the demand's there, they know they can manufacture it, or they can build it if it's not. The website is kayak.com. That's O-R-U and kayak, which is spelled K-A-Y-A-K.com.
Andy Cochran, Oru Kayak. Thanks for taking your time out here on homeofbiz.com.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast For Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business.
It's Radio for Small Business on homeabiz.com. My next guest is probably the smartest one I've ever talked to, okay? Mark Melney with Melney Connectors. I've got to tell you right now, welcome to the show, and you're definitely smarter than me, okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet on that, but go ahead.
I would bet on it. So tell us a little bit about Melney Connectors and the great things that you all do.
We are in the essence of an invention company. I started this company about 5-6 years ago. I had this invention in 2007, 2008, patented it, and received our patent in 13 months. So we had an issued patent, which was probably one of the fastest patents, ever.
Wow. Is that unusual to get a patent that quick?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, in 2010, we went to Boise, Idaho, and we participated in what they call the Tech Launch 7. It was the Entrepreneur of the Year / Inventor of the Year, and we won that contest. When we did, it opened up the door for a lot of things, looking at our company just as an invention company.
Wow.
And so the nature of my invention is it's really disruptive. It's the electrical industry has been going on for 60, 70 years, doing the same type of connections between their cables and their wires, and you know what that is. Would be a crimp, and you saw it on the show. It's a regular piece of pipe that you take a very heavy pair of pliers, you squeeze it down, that pipe squeezes down on top of the conductors, and that gives you your connection between two cables. Yeah, that's the standard crimp. And then in the industry, they take this crimp, which is a piece of metal. Again, it looks kind of like a metal pipe, and then they wrap it with tape, cambric tape, or the different types of tapes that they have, electrical tape, and to make it moisture-proof or environmentally insulated from the from the ground, etc.
Wow.
So what my invention does is it as the two conductors come into each other inside of my connector, then there's a spiral activity inside there that closes down on top of the conductor, similar to like Chinese finger trap, which makes a really excellent contact between the whole surface area of the conductor and the connector, and then radially tightens down on top of it, or radial and linear tightening for our latest devices. And then once those are tightened down on there, you have a hell of a connector. Sorry for that, but that's the way it is.
It's okay. So we're talking to Mark Melney with Melney Connectors, a wonderful invention company. You've seen him on ABC Shark Tank. Mark, you mentioned that the current electric industry, basically they're using a piece of metal and some tape. I mean, if I know this, I could be rich because half the appliances in my house used to be like that. Okay? So now your connectors, your inventions are revolutionizing the electrical industry. And like you said, it's offering a faster, safer, more cost-effective way to transfer power. Now, as a consumer, what does that mean to me on the consumer side?
We are going right now. We're concentrating on our commercial activities. We feel that the best way to enter this marketplace is through the commercial area, because the people that are going to be using it, the electricians, the linemen, these are the guys that really know their products. when it gets into their hands and you start, it's going to be kind of the trickle-down effect where the professionals are saying, okay, this is the right way to go, and then it's going to go towards the residential and the home market. The very first device, just to give you an idea of the simplicity for making the connector with the Melny connector as opposed to a standard 4-aught, what I described before, the 4-aught crimp that you have to use these huge, crimpers or whatever to do. My wife, Mary, she made the very first 4-aught connection with a Melny connector using a pair of pliers, tightening it down and then tightening down the end caps, which allow the insulator to be a part of the connector, so that it literally has a positive rejection of moisture and environment and stuff like that. So that gives you an idea how it will start going towards the residential.
So as it gets picked up more commercially, eventually I, as a consumer, will be able to see some. Well, I won't see.
Or down to a Roman connector that would be used inside the home. I don't know what you've done electrically, but you know what a wire nut is. By Ideal is they're the small nuts that when you put up a fan inside your house or you put in a light fixture, those little nuts that you take the wires, you stick them inside and you twist them down.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, it's a wire. It's known as a wire nut. That's a trademark by Ideal, and there's a trillion of those little guys sold around the world every year, and that's a marketplace that, to me, that's really where we need to be there. That's one of my inventions in my very first patent was I call it the zap nut, which is zero application pressure, but it literally slides over the top of the conductors, let's say 3 or 4 conductors that you would be tightened together just like you would in a light fixture, and then you would twist about a quarter turn to a half turn twist on my zap nut, and then it collapses the internal workings of the insert, and then boom, it goes around the conductors, and it has a higher pull rate than a standard wire nut.
Now, you mentioned that obviously that you want the commercial side on. With that, the professionals are going to be vouching for you, and when you raised capital, right, you took a professional 30-year veteran lineman onto the ABC Shark Tank. Tell us about the process, not necessarily yet of the show, but some of the things that you prepared for to prepare for the questions that you would have to answer.
I'll tell you, that's the best part. It is really the best part. I mean, when Shark Tank contacted, first of all, the odd part about this whole thing was that we got contacted by Shark Tank.
Wow.
It wasn't we were, originally they told us there was 42,000 applicants for season 6. In Boise, I was invited to introduce Robert Herjavec to the Boise Business Convention. So I got to spend some private time with Herjavec, and wow, what a cool guy! He was the original shark that I was, I wanted to partner with because he's kind of a fun kind of a guy.
He seems like that on the show, yeah.
Yeah, he does, and in real life, he is. He's very. I've read his book, and it was probably one of the best books moving forward for business people to look at. It has more of a serendipity type of hard work, but letting your bliss kind of lead you towards the end. But anyway, I sat and talked with him, and he explained some of the insides of the show that was outstanding. It wasn't 42,000; it was 120,000 applicants.
OMG!
I know they added. He was explaining that what we were looking at was the actual people that were sending in the emails and sending in all these applications were about 42,000. The 120,000 came from the different cities. These guys, the producers, go out to Chicago, to L.A., to New York, whatever, and they have these casting calls where people will come in and show their inventions. So Herjavec was explaining to us the show has just incredibly gone.
It's a wonderful show. Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, they've gone into 20 English-speaking countries now. So we get calls. Literally last week, we got 4 emails from large distributors in India.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, these people want to sell our product, and we've gotten Brunei, we've gotten Australia, New Zealand, all these English-speaking countries that see my product, they want to sell it. So the show has been outstanding. Now, when they first called us, and I said, that's great, I wanted to bring 4 guys with me. The one representative from the Northwest Linemen's College, which is they produce a lot of your power linemen across the country, Canada, etc. And then also Byron Dunn, who was that lineman that was on the show.
Right.
30-year man who's put over, he's figured between 5 and 10,000 of these crimps in his 30-year period, which is not a bad way to think about it.
Right.
Probably more like 3,000 to 5,000. But anyway, this guy is amazing. He's a maverick. So when he saw my product, at first I went on to his blog and I said, "Hey, I've got a new product." Typed grand into the
and that
you're
brought
damn
you
right.
a lot of credibility on the show, didn't it?
Well, that's it. And that the producers. Here's the part that people that was amazing to us, but it worked out very. It worked out great. The producer Mark Burnett's office called and said, "No, you can't bring Byron. You can only go just the two of you, and that's what your finances are for." I said to the producer, I said, "Look, I'll pay for Byron to go. Let's take him. He's it's really important." And then she said, "No, you can't do that." So then I said, "Okay, I have to renege. I have got to, we're not going to be able to make the show."
Oh, okay.
I know, and at this point, we're down to the very. I mean, they've already got our flights and all this other stuff, and that's when they told us this bad news about Byron. She said that's never happened. We don't you don't get to this stage and then say you're not coming. And
especially for the Shark Tank, right? They're like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Straight. Yeah, exactly. This is they'd already sent us out papers to our attorney stating that if we make the show, that we would have on media digital advertising the approximation of about $1.6 million worth of media advertising. So it's like saying no to that. Okay, and at that point I said no to her, and I told her this is it. So she said to me, she said, "Why is he so important?" I said, "Look, let's say that you, a producer of a reality television show, a great show, and me, a half." I hate to say it, but a half-assed piano player who owns a computer company, and we're sitting there trying to tell the world's greatest VCs at this point about a product, an electrical product, that neither one of us are an electrician. And then I have Byron Dunn, who has been 30 years in the industry, owns his own magazine that caters to the power lineman. As a matter of fact, it's called Power Lineman Magazine. And this guy, the minute he saw it and started working with it, invests money in it. Who do you want? If you and I were trying to sell this invention, ma'am, to these people, wouldn't you want this guy to be on the show? Right. And then she said to me, "Okay, he's on," just like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then looking back at it, I mean, I've got when we first hit, first 48 hours, we had 72,000 emails that came in. We had 8.2 million people watch the show, according to the stats. And we were in the April season, so it's while, it kind of builds up as it goes along, So anyway, after getting all those hits and stuff, it was unanimous that Byron Dunn sold the whole thing.
Wow.
I mean, as far as I was concerned, when we were sitting there, and I really like the Sharks. I like all of them. Mr. Wonderful's a little bit weird, but Barbara Cochran, she's sitting there, and she looked at us, and she said, "Byron, I give you an A+. I kind of think the two of them had a thing going on there. But anyway, she looked over at Armand, my partner, and she says to him, "Armand, I give you a C." And Armand just kind of said, "What?" And then she looked at me, and she says, "Mark," and she shook her head. And I said, "Well, come on, give me something, So it was an amazing thing. And the way it worked out with Byron there, he was able to answer technically any question these guys would have.
That helped out a huge bit, didn't it? That helped out.
Yes, it did, because we were out there for almost 2 hours.
Wait a minute. It wasn't just the few minutes that I saw you guys on the segment?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
2
glad
hours.
you had him with you.
And it was kind of grueling, especially for me, because they're trying to figure out our backgrounds, and the same thing I said to the producer. I don't have a background in electronics. I mean,
wow.
Just the way it goes.
So hey, Mark, we've been talking to Mark Melny, owner, inventor of Melny Connections, Melny Connectors. Mark, what's your website so that more people can find out about you?
It is www.melnyconnectors.com, or easier to me is melny.org.
Melny.org. Mark Melny, thank you for taking your time out on homebubiz.com.
Thank you very much for reaching out and talking to us.
Connect. Capitalize. Go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast For Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business.
It's Radio for Small Business on HomeBaBiz.com. Your host, Eugene Rowe. Thanks for tuning in. Right now, I got somebody who's got a firm grasp of the market. Ashley Drake with The Natural Grip. Welcome to Radio for Small Business.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what The Natural Grip is, and then I'm going to get into some more specifics.
All right, sounds great. Yeah, the Natural Grip is an innovative hand protection device that protects you from ripping and tearing while working out. So we're the only custom hand protection on the market, and what that means is we're the only hand protection that's made based off of your ring finger size. It allows for a custom fit and the ultimate protection to keep you from ripping and tearing while doing high-intensity barbell movements or pull-ups or things like that.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I saw you guys on TV quite a few times in quite a few places. Tell us about some of the experiences that, some of the reasons that I guess people who work out would need it as far as, not ripping skin. Does it really make that big of a difference?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our primary market is the CrossFit market, the functional fitness space. Also, gymnasts use our product. Even landscapers can. So it's anybody that's in an environment where they're going at such a rate of speed as far as like barbell cycling or pull-ups or different movements that causes a lot of friction and can cause for your hands to rip or tear.
Gotcha. Now, where'd you come up with the concept?
Well, ultimately, I mean, I was having that problem, and so my husband, I got sick of listening to me complain about my hands ripping and tearing while working out, and he knew that I had tried everything out there on the market and that nothing was working for my small hands. And so he said that he thought he could make something to solve my problem, and he did just that, and some other people saw it at the gym and went crazy about it and wanted to buy it, and so that's when that magical light bulb moment, happened, and I thought, well, hey, maybe we have something here. Really,
it's wonderful to hear entrepreneurs and business owners talk about them having something that they're using and everyone else gets excited about it. Was it 5, 10, 15, 20 people who said, hey, this is pretty cool, you got to give it to me before you decided that it might be a business opportunity, or was it more than that?
Honestly, it was one person. It was one person that I had never met before. We were starting to work out at the gym, and it was 100 pull-ups for time, and she was in from out of town, and she got emotionally distraught about the workout, and I had never met her before, and I asked her if she was okay, and she said, yeah, I'm just worried I'm going to rip and tear my hands, and I said, oh, try these things my husband made, and after the workout, she came sprinting towards me, and I didn't know if she was mad at me or happy with me. I didn't really know what was going on, and she said that she wanted to know where I got them, how could she get more of them, she wanted to pay me for them, and it was just that authenticness of how she had the same exact problem I was having, but I had solved it for her. And it was just a life-changing moment for her where it was just on her face that she couldn't have been more thankful.
Wow.
And when you have one of those kind of interactions with somebody, I mean, it definitely, stuck in my head for the rest of the day, and all I could think about was, okay, how can I tell my husband about this where he can see how important it was to her, because he wasn't there to witness it happen. And so when I went home that night and I told him, when we were sitting in the kitchen making dinner, he thought I was crazy. He was like, no one's going to buy these things. That's ridiculous, Ashley. And so I just said, well, let me try. Let me try. What do we have to lose if I don't take any of our money, out of our savings? If I just start a Facebook page, just let me try. And so that's he said, sure, go right ahead. No one's going to buy them. And here we are almost 4 years later, and over $1 million in sales. So
wow.
things can escalate quickly. So.
We're talking to Ashley Drake of the Natural Grip right here on homeofbiz.com. It's radio for small business where you connect, capitalize, and go. Ashley, you talked about how your husband actually created the product. Now, do you guys work the business together, or is it pretty much your baby that you run with?
Well, I am the CEO. There's no doubt about that. He is the COO, Chief of Operations. I'm actually still active duty, so I work full-time for the Army, and so I'm not able to really focus on the business stuff until later in the afternoons when I'm done with my Army requirements. And Justin runs the production facility from 9 to 5 every day, or later if necessary.
Gotcha.
So we're both fully committed, but he runs the day-to-day stuff, and I kind of handle the high-level stuff.
Gotcha. Now, if I'm not mistaken, when you were on Beyond the Tank, I watched that show a whole lot. I know you were thinking about making a big decision as far as the full-time job goes. Has anything else changed with that since then?
Yeah, no. I mean, I had made the decision to get out of the military, and so that's been communicated to the Army, and they're tracking that. It just takes time for that to kind of go through the process. So my commitment's not up until next October, and so I'll fulfill my commitment that I have for my term of service, and then I'll go ahead and transition out. It's just it's not something anybody should take lightly, and it takes time. So that's why there was a topic then, but still hasn't, been executed yet.
Absolutely. We're talking to Ashley Drake of the Natural Grip, homeofbiz.com, connect, capitalize, go. Ashley, you mentioned something about, wanting to quit the full-time job, and your job is actually more important than probably most of all others out there. A member of the United States Army. We thank you for your service. So what were some of the things and details that you had to think about and consider before you decided to walk away from that safety net, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, definitely getting paid on the 1st and the 15th, an officer's salary is a big thing to walk away from. I mean, ultimately the business does play a role in it, but in addition to that, we have a daughter. She's 5 years old, and so becoming a mom and continuing in the service is a difficult decision point kind of for any female soldier, enlisted or on the officer side. So I tell everybody, the company has played a role in the decision, but ultimately I want to be there for our daughter, and I'm very thankful for the military career that I've had, and I know that I could go very far in the military, but I also take my responsibility of being a mother very seriously, and your priorities change as you get older and things change in your life. So Ellie is more important than my Army career, and therefore
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I need to focus on that.
I don't think anyone will fault you for making that decision. Definitely a member of the armed forces. Even, my father and both of my brothers have served in different branches of the military. So definitely thank you for your service with that. We're talking with Ashley Drake of the Natural Grip. Now, you mentioned something. 3-4 years in to the business, $1 million in sales later. I mean, you go back to your husband saying it'll never sell. When you sold your first 6 figures, what'd he say?
He said, he said, okay, now what? And I said, well, we keep going, I mean, it was just kind of like that. He, he was skeptical at first, but, when we started the business in May